Okay,
there it is.
1, 2, 3. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Youth Ministry Garage, episode 218. Doug Fields here with co-host Matt McGill, the Queen, Katie Edwards, and the retired co-host Josh Griffin.
It was a very good run. Very good run.
Yeah, well, you're back.
I'm so back. Yeah.
You're back, co-host.
Thank you.
I didn't think Matt did a very good job right there. Just going, I'm not the co-host.
What? The co-host?
Yeah.
You're out of a job.
If you don't want it, it's part of it's a leadership principle.
On this podcast.
It's a leader. Yeah, you carry the show.
Yeah, you carry it. You're the future of the church. There's a lot to do.
Self-acclaimed.
Posting of the show.
Sorry you got canned.
Yeah.
A lot of.
Gosh, I'm loving that. Every time I read one today, I still giggle.
I still got one
tweets.
yesterday on Twitter.
It's the best.
Yes. Hey, everybody. It's good to be back. Here, here's what I wrote down to the team. I'm going to look right into the camera. To the team.
Oh,
Good eye contact.
Thank you.
good job.
Thank you, because without you, we would not be powered by Youth Specialties, Youth Ministry 360, Leader Treks, Azusa Pacific University, and Remedy Live. But as I told you guys beforehand, I just started following the Youth Ministry Garage tweet feed, which I should have been following. I'm just confessing, going public right now.
That's rough.
But I said to these guys before we started, which we typically don't have much conversation, I said, I'm just amazed at how people are so invested in this, and they get mad when the show's not up for a couple weeks. Matt, that just the last
They
month
love our passive aggressiveness.
I was at the Orange Conference, and there was a guy sitting in the front row, came up right away and said, "I'm a team member." Boom, hug. The FAM conference, the people were doing the same thing. I just love it. I just love it.
We need to have shirts or something.
We need. Here's what my thought is. We need to figure out, and we haven't figured it out.
Road trip.
How do we hang with people that are part of this team? Like we have that fifth
Try
empty
that
chair.
Google Hangout.
I think there should be shirts that say, I'm a team member. I'm
like
part
it.
of the team.
I like it.
So they can wear while we're...
Somebody you know had sent it was Eddie and Tommy maybe that they were doing a Google Hangout. You saw it and you're like, hey, we should try this.
Yeah.
Then you found out it involved technology and you're like,
We're already hanging out.
Okay,
We're hanging out together.
Speaking of technology.
We can Google while we're sitting here.
Speaking of technology, let me show the team. I'll give it right back.
Sexual harassment.
I promise. Come here.
I will. You can't touch it.
I'm gonna smudge it. I'm gonna smudge it.
Oh, he's gonna.
Matt sold out.
Yep.
I didn't sell out.
You sold out. You got an Android.
He got an iPad Mini.
Well, the phone doesn't quite float by itself.
Yeah.
Look at the size of that phone.
Look at that. It's awesome.
It takes two hands to hold it.
Yes.
And then what'd you also get? A Verizon iPad thing?
No, I got a... Okay, so here's the deal. I switched over to the Samsung Galaxy S4.
Dumb.
Sam Dumb Galaxy.
Oh, no, this is the iPhone killer right here.
The iPhone killer. Yeah.
Oh, you bet.
And tell Josh what everybody was doing at your house the other night.
Oh, yes.
Mocking you, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple people were over and just hanging out, and they all went to our family calendar and wrote their names on different dates for when I'm going to switch back.
So over under till you come back to the iPhone 5S.
Yeah. I gave him 6 months.
I mean, here's the deal. If Apple could ever refresh their UI, then perhaps it'd be interesting enough to stick around.
That's true. Welcome to This Week in Technology. Man, you're fine.
No.
We can't edit it. It's a lot.
Don't edit that.
Thousands of people
Don't
watching
edit
the live
that.
show.
Oh, it's out.
People are actually trying to guess what's been edited.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, here we go.
Joe Konecki from Eureka, California. First of all, I want to say or sing, quote, "How great thou art, Matt."
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
I'm strongly considering attending National Youth Workers Convention in San Diego for the first time in the fall. Any suggestions for a newbie on the conference scene? Hey, a free meal with you guys would be the ultimate highlight.
Aww.
We need to do that. Some meal. Let's
should do a podcast exclusive, you got to know us and figure it. That'd be awesome. Let's do it.
What if there was team member shirts?
Love it. You got to wear your shirt.
Thanks.
Well, will we do a live podcast there?
Yeah, we'll do a live podcast, but that's not the same as That's not the same.
No, that's not the
No,
same.
and
But
it
maybe
needs to
we
be
hit
steak.
like a pizza place or something the
Okay.
night before.
I'm back.
Anybody
That's
who wants to
creative.
come.
Highbrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Very highbrow.
I never get pizza as a youth
so-
worker, so that's a great idea.
No.
Wow, so negative and attacking.
I know we are a little.
It's
snippy
phone
right
envy.
now.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
It's just we're so
right.
jealous.
I'm the one positive here, keeping
Sorry.
chin up, and you guys.
Speaking of the National Youth Workers
We're
Convention.
snarky. Sorry, pal.
Yes.
Speaking of the National Youth Workers Convention.
Speaking of it, we have a special Youth Ministry Garage discount code for $100 off registration, which is nuts. Expires July 1st, so probably has already expired by the time Matt and Seth get this up. If you go to nywc.com, you can use the discount code YMGarage1 and get $100 off, but you got to use it right away. So
pretty amazing.
enjoy. We do need to get this show up right away because that's a good deal.
Very good deal. How many are we in the? How many are we in the? How many are we in the pipeline?
We're caught up.
We're caught up.
We're
So
caught
this
up.
should go up.
And this, we're going to be
Just
there.
uploaded the
You're
show.
going to be there. I'm going to be there.
Yeah,
Katie's
well,
gonna be
and
there.
his question about a
Matt's gonna be
newbie,
there.
you and I are teaching the
The first 2 years.
First
Yeah,
years in
tips.
youth ministry.
Give
Yeah.
them some tips.
yeah, first 2 years in youth ministry. Go to that. That'll be fun. Josh and I are teaching
We'll be
that.
there. It'll be a blast.
Hopefully, special appearance by these three at some point.
Yes, that'd be
Katie's a little tough. You got to drive her down in a limo.
Yeah,
But-
talk about big time.
I'm kind
Uh-huh.
of flexible.
That conference
Hey,
a couple
alright,
years
tips
ago
for conferences.
was the birthplace of Download Youth Ministry.
You're right.
Special
Bada,
place
bada,
in
bada,
our heart.
boom. All right. Ryan Pardue from Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Oh, so what are we telling this
No
guy? He
tips?
wants to hang out?
No, he's
Send us
totally.
send me an email. We'll figure it out. I'll hang out.
Go to the first 2 years in youth ministry.
There you go. Good deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No pizza, huh?
I was
wasn't creative enough for you.
Pizza's great. Pizza's great.
Remember the time we did Sarducci's on the lake?
What about
at the conference?
Scampi? Scampi's good. Shrimp
We're
scampi.
youth ministry budget, except for Matt.
It's on that.
And what I mean by that is that I'll have to pay for Matt,
Yeah,
like I did lunch today.
that was a lie.
That I paid for you at lunch today?
Oh, lunch number one you paid for. That's right. We had 2 lunches today.
Oh,
Yeah, Matt and I had a meeting with somebody. We didn't know whether it was going to be lunch or not.
So you
So we
eat,
decided to eat
and then
anyway.
you don't say that. Oh,
No.
So on the phone though, Doug says, "Oh, well, I'll just eat light," and I go, "Great, you want to split something?" Which I've probably split 2 meals in my entire life with anybody.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I don't want to split." I was like, "Well, what do you mean by eat light then?"
Yeah.
So do you have a salad and then a
I had
burger
fish
or
and vegetables,
okay?
under 200 pounds.
I had.
And then,
Yeah,
and then
relax,
Matt
relax
ate
with the
some
camera.
tofu nasty. And then we
Tofu's
walk
good.
into the meeting, and the guy goes, "You ready for lunch?" We're
And you
like,
said, yeah.
"Okay, we are ready for lunch." And so,
Which for me is truthful. I'm always ready for another lunch.
yeah.
Dude, lunch too? I used to be that guy. Oh. One
tear.
little tear running down my
Oh,
cheek.
God.
My slightly skinnier cheek. Only
lot
3
skinnier.
chins now. It's pretty awesome.
Hey, did you watch Extreme Makeover? Fat Person
That guy?
Edition?
No.
Oh my.
I already.
enough youth ministry.
They moved the
I
bus
feel
and there's a
guilty
skinny
for-
guy there. Is that how it works now?
Similar. It's
Move that
this
bus.
is twins, 22 year
Oh,
old, 22 years old guy and girl, combined weight 800 pounds.
Ooh.
Then they
lots
work
of
with
love.
them for a year.
oh, they filmed it a year ago.
They work with them a whole year.
Wow.
And then they have the reveal.
And do they do surgery to like get rid of the extra skin and stuff? Because they have to do
The
something.
guy qualified for
scissors.
it.
Yeah.
The girl didn't
Oh.
until the very finale, and then she did.
Cool. So everyone's
Yeah.
cheering for that. Huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I don't know. I've never cheered for skin removal in my life, but I did. It was awesome.
That's a lot of love. That's big.
Yeah.
It's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ryan Pardue, Stillwater, Oklahoma. I was wondering if you had any advice on how to run a leader volunteer sponsor meeting as someone who is much younger than our team. And don't let McGill get away with quoting 1 Timothy 4:12 either.
Well, does he want opinions or does he want?
Opinions
Wisdom.
or truth?
Katie, what do you think? What's your advice? You run volunteer meetings. You're the youngest person at the table.
No, Josh.
Not true.
Josh is 3 months younger than me.
Really?
He doesn't have
Hey.
platinum hair.
You look a lot younger
That's right.
than Josh. You dress better than Josh. You're nicer than Josh.
True.
You're a better leader than Josh.
That's not true.
I got nothing. I got nothing. It's all.
I don't know what
That's
Josh.
not true.
Oh, someone hold me right now.
Oh.
Another single tear in the same fat trail right now.
I think for when you're younger, I think before you do leader meetings, try the best that you can to be building relationships and just hanging out with people, not necessarily trying to lead them all the time or be authority over them, but just know them as people. And I think when you, hopefully leader meetings feel like every time you're together, it's family or it's reunion because you've got great relationships with each other. So it won't feel like I'm young, you're old, and I'm leading you. I think, too, plan something for them. Instead of just like, hey, let's get together and being kind of out of sorts or being disorganized or, throwing a bowl of chips on the table and passing something out that feels kind of last minute thrown together. I think, when it's planned out, you have a kind of a set agenda, you're doing, like encouragement, heart piece, some training to, making it feel like you value their time.
Yeah. And that you spent time on it.
Yeah,
too.
you spent time because you value them. You're asking them for a night away from their family. You're asking them to be out another night on top of their youth ministry stuff. So I think if you really show that you value them and their time, then it won't feel, again, I don't think they won't feel, people don't care where appreciation's coming from, just as long as they're being appreciated. So.
Well, you don't have to do all the teaching also.
Yeah.
You can,
use other
veterans.
veterans.
Use veterans, and I think, people are drawn to quality. And so if you're a young person, you're doing something of quality. I was at a church in Seattle last week, and the executive pastor, this is an 8 multi-site church, 8 locations.
Nuts.
The executive pastor is 27 years old.
One church, many locations.
That's
27 years.
27.
Totally sharp dude. Totally sharp dude.
Would have to be.
And I'd follow that guy in a minute. It's totally sharp. Half my age and sharp. So I think, people are drawn to like, are you capable? Can you do it? I like your chips illustration. As silly as it sounds, sometimes you let your youthfulness show in kind of dumb decisions like, hey, circle around. Maybe you have somebody like in our world, a Linda Vino, who's 50 and a mom, and she's got teenagers, and she could plan that volunteer meeting way better than you could. You come in, do a slice of vision. Here's where we're going. Here's where I need to see some of you, all of us step up, whatever. Bring in an old guy like Matt, do a little training. Bingo.
And if you can utilize parents in that, that's a really cool arena. There are a lot of times there's a mom who wants to bake or do, be hospitality, even parents that want to open their home for your meeting and say like, hey, we'll take care of all the food in the home and you guys come in. So there's options.
Well, when I was young, I don't think I thought like a person with kids. So it's just my wife and I starting out in youth ministry. And so I think a big win would be for you to think about those kids, for example. So if you provided childcare, maybe in a different room in the same house where you're meeting or whatever, and have one of the youth group girls or a group of them or whatever babysit, that'd be awesome. A way to think ahead. And then we always did it around food. So we called it stakeout really early in ministry, and it was just, we're going to grill out, rain, shine, snow. We were going to be grilling out something, and it was just a great time. It was like a picnic, barbecue atmosphere, a lot more casual, a lot of fun. We did get to the good stuff, but we always had childcare, and we always had
dessert.
Food. Yeah.
Well, Matt won't say it, but I will. 1 Timothy 4:12, let no one despise your youth. The reality is, if you're put in charge, lead. If God's called you to lead. Doesn't matter how old you are.
And don't give them an excuse to despise your youth. I think that humility and gentleness goes a far way in a situation like this. You don't have to come in and be the John Wayne, I'm coming in, I'm in control, blah, blah, blah.
The John Wayne?
What? I have
how about The Rock from Fast and Furious or something like that? Contextualize
just a little bit more contextualized. I don't need to. John Wayne is timeless. Are you kidding me? No, I don't know. Maybe not. But you don't have to come in and don't feel... is not to feel the pressure that, like, man, I need everyone in this room to see me as the leader. If that's your attitude, maybe you could shift it a little bit more towards humility, and be, you are the one that is responsible for the ministry. You are young. You do have the position of being a leader, but you don't have to take it.
Yeah, that's good.
In my context now, everybody I'm working with in my church is older than me, and so, that's just part of what. And they've been there for 35 years, so they're not just older, but they've been at the church for a really long time.
Good. Hey, we're going to have Leader Trex send Ryan here something. I don't know what Leader Trex is going to send him. We're going to let Leader Trex decide what they want to send him. Leader Trex is one of our sponsors.
I just got off the phone with Leader Trex.
No, you didn't. You just got a phone with Youth Ministry 360.
Oh, you're right.
Leader Treks, you ought to edit that. Leader Treks, 15%
Me being
off.
an idiot is fine. I'm okay with the world knowing.
Leader
that.
Treks wants to give 15% off to anybody who's connected with our podcast. It's an exclusive deal, and all you need to do to get 15% off is YM Garage.
Love it.
In the coupon area code, 15% off.
A Leader Treks resource we just got in this week for our seniors is called Moving On. We've talked about it on the show a bunch, but we just got a whole bunch of those for our seniors. I'm excited about it.
That's
Oh,
good.
that's cool.
Love the Leader
Awesome.
Treks.
I love that.
CJ Burrows from Alachua.
Another
Yeah.
California?
No,
Florida.
Florida. Just recently started listening, enjoyed the insights and advice. My question is this. I've got a group of volunteers who are really more like chaperones than leaders. My personality is one that takes it on myself to get things done a lot of times rather than relying on others, which is very tiring. I can tell he's kind of a recent listener. CJ could be I have a female friend named CJ, so it could be CJ, because he spelled a lot as one word. And
So you know it's a guy.
long-time listeners, we've kind of
drives
beaten that.
crazy.
Oh,
It does
drives
drive
you
me crazy.
Of all the things in the universe, in the
It's really the only
in the
thing.
grand scheme of the universe.
It's really the only thing. Other than that, I'm filled with joy 100% of the time.
It's
right.
really the
Except when I'm around you. So my personality is that I take it on myself to get things done a lot, 2 words of times, rather than relying on others, which is very tiring. What are some things I can begin transitioning them out of a chaperone mindset and into an owner of the ministry? Good question.
That's great. I'll start.
Great.
I would say immediately schedule some time off and break yourself of the bad habit. So if you have any vacation time, plan a vacation and leave for a while, because that will break you of control. You have to give it away. You are going to be gone. So it's kind of like a cold turkey, tough love. Break with it for a little
what you're
while
all
and see what
about,
happens.
tough love.
Oh, dude, look at this. I'm so tough on people. Just throwing that out there. I like that one. Because it's tough to let go. So if you're like easing into it, good luck.
Yeah.
Go away for 2 weeks. Throw your phone in the luggage somewhere and don't look at it and see what happens. That'll be good.
Yeah, or if you have Matt's phone, it could serve as luggage.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
We call that a planned absence at times.
Yeah.
You plan your absence so other people have to step up.
And summer's a great time to do that. Go for it.
Well, the other thing is, part of the reasons they may be chaperones is because your leadership style is always about delegating. So when you always are delegating to your volunteers, they just become dependent on your delegation, and therefore don't have any incentive to step up and own things because they're just waiting for that list to be delegated to. So maybe, hold up the mirror and see what kind of leader you are, and if you show up to every leader meeting and you're always delegating, you're probably making them codependent on your leadership.
So the opposite side of that coin is to find out, I mean, even though your chaperones aren't leaders and maybe they resemble, they're just on autopilot zombies that just walk in the door, they do their thing and leave, is that there is still something that each one of those peoples is passionate about. There is something that they like and love and are good at and excited about, or maybe they're not good at it yet, but they just need an opportunity to develop that. And so I would say, get to know a couple of them in a way that you find out what they're passionate about. I mean, I'm sure you know them, and I don't know the context and all that stuff, but then instead of delegating things to people that you don't know if they're even really excited about that, find out what somebody's excited about and see if you can give them that.
Love it.
I think people chaperone when they don't know what your expectations are of them, or they don't know their role. I don't think most people want to be a chaperone. I think they want their time to be valuable and want to have influence, but I think see the last question and maybe, gathering them together, casting the vision for the role, what you want them to be, the youth pastors that you want them to become versus any kind of task-driven thing that you think you're giving out right now. So.
Give away decisions, and a choice. And if you're going to really give away a decision, you have to also give up the consequences of not saving it. And obviously there's some limits to that, but a choice isn't real unless there's a consequence that follows. So give them real choices and say, hey, what would you like to do? Or how do you think we should handle this? And go with it. Now there is limits, totally, but that's a great place to start. And a lot of times, and I think a lot of times when people are younger, they feel like, oh, I have to be the one to make all the decisions. That means I'm a good leader if I'm the one who's deciding. And I think give away as many decisions as you can.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, and you have to be okay with things. I mean, you taught us this of, the good enough principle of being, maybe it's not going to be exactly how you envisioned it or, to your standard in some area, but is it good enough? Most of the time our students don't care or notice when things aren't up to our standard.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, so maybe you might think you're losing by by handing things over to volunteers, but most of the time I think your ministry will win. You'll win as a leader if they're excited and owning stuff. So but it might look different than you think.
Yeah. Good. Zachary Wolf from South Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Is that kind of your stomping ground?
Yeah, 45 minutes from where I went to college, an hour and change from where my wife grew up, and it's great. Old Milwaukee.
Zachary Wolf.
Beautiful old town.
So there's a South Milwaukee and an Old Milwaukee.
Yep. Great comedy sports in Old Milwaukee.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. What is that?
It's a fun thing. Comedy sports?
It's like improv.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was going to say, I think
That's a homeschool.
That was comedy sports right there.
Oh, that was improv. It's not as funny when you have to explain it.
Nothing I do is
that's comedy.
All right, Zachary says, Matt, sorry you spoke too much truth and got the boot. Hey, gang, as I write this, I'm a week and a half away from leaving my current youth ministry director position in Milwaukee and moving to Monticello, Indiana. Seth?
Whoa.
You kind of know.
Has some comedy sports stuff.
See what he did there?
It has been rough saying goodbye to all my students. Anyway, my question is this. The church I'm going to is getting ready to build a new youth building. And no, that didn't come into play in my decision. And I was wondering what helpful tips you have about building a new youth building. What pitfalls should I watch out for? Okay, watch.
All right, got it.
Then we have an email from Brad Chandler from Burlington, North Carolina. Brad also, he says he's part of a network of 10 or 12 youth pastors in Burlington, North Carolina. Again, if you're part of a network,
let us know.
We haven't done anything with it yet, but when we do, we're going after the network.
But when we do, we're going to ask again.
Hey, we are breaking ground on a new youth building, including a gym facility, new student space.
Wow.
It's been a dream of our church for a very long time, and it's finally happening. My question is, if you could design a student ministry space from the ground up, what would you include? How would it function? I know that context and ministry philosophy have a lot, one word, to do with this, but I'm curious about some of the thinking that went into the refinery and other spaces that you've ministered in. So we're hoping our place will not just be a ministry space, but a community venue that our small town can call its own. Here's my suggestion.
Remember
friends?
all those meetings? We did 2 years worth of meetings.
Here's my suggestion. Let's do quick answers on this because I think building a community center is a small section of our people, but because he's part of a network and there's two.
Well, there's other people that could take the stuff that we talk about into a youth room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of it's transferable.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, here's the deal. We've all been part of building a building, the four of us here, that we all have enjoyed and ministered to. You're going to second guess yourself all along the way. You're going to have to try to convince people of your philosophy that are dollars and cents people, that are brick and mortar people, that are going to go, why would you do that? You have to, if you have a value, like the refinery that we've all been part of, our initial phrase was Starbucks on steroids. Mm-hmm. We wanted to have that feel, and so all of a sudden when the price of steel went up and our budget went down, those two went hand in hand. When steel prices went up, our footprint began to shrink. We didn't want the hangout area to shrink. And a lot of people struggled with that because they wanted the program space to, we were allowing that to shrink. And I think we made the right decision. But whatever you feel strongly about, my little 2 cents is you have to fight for that because nobody's going to feel as strong about it as you do. And so if you have the vision and the heart behind that space, hang on to it, fight for it, because once it's built, it's built. So anyway, that's my piece.
The at Mariners, they have a really great building that I inherited for just a brief time before I got fired. But they have a great looking building, and we've talked about this before on the show. But the design is not warm and comfortable at all. I mean, and the building wasn't built really by the youth pastor there. I mean, he had like a small voice in what was going on.
Which is ironic because that whole property is warm and engaging.
Yeah. I mean, when you walk around,
the water, it's one of the best looking properties I've ever been around.
Right.
But in terms, if I was comparing the refinery that we were all part of building and that one.
I mean, it's built like an Apple store, and the Apple store is very cold and sterile, and at least I think so. And the whole idea of the Apple, especially
the Samsung store, on the other hand.
But the whole point of the Apple store is that it looks good, but it's supposed to just serve up the awesome Apple products, which is great. I mean, that's what it's supposed to do. But when you go to a youth center, it's not. The flow for where people go, and it's very difficult, I think, to predict people flow. Every building is different, and it seems like when you build one and you think, oh, this is the way it'll work, but it's there, and people don't move the way you think they're going to move. So that is always difficult.
So what's your principle? So mine was fight for what you believe in.
Yeah, it should be comfortable.
Okay.
I mean, even that should be a value. I mean, I think that should be a value.
My one thing would just be, I think, because our building's hitting our 5-year anniversary this year, and if it's at all possible to maybe not, I know with money it's really hard, but if it would be possible to have money that you set aside for the next 5 years per year, to maybe you don't buy every single thing that you want to start, because when people get in there and people are messy and you kind of figure out how we actually use it, because the first year you're just figuring out how do we use it, what are our students like, what are they not like, what are they going to come to, what are they not going to come to. There's things now that we wish we could do but we can't afford it, or I wish that over the years as we've changed or evolved or kind of grown into the building that we would want to do differently now or something, totally. Not like the structure necessarily. I mean, I think obviously structure conversations up front, but just I don't know, maybe just how we utilize the space. We've added things over the years that we've taken out of our operating budgets because we're like, oh, we really wish we had this.
Well, and upgrade the technology, because the technology that you put in is state of the art, but in a few years it all needs to be replaced. It's all very expensive, so that's some of it too.
I don't know.
I would say super clear signage. Super clear. So if you need to walk in and know where the bathrooms are instantly.
Yeah.
I think
signage isn't clear at our church.
It's such a minor thing that it feels like a given.
We miss all the time.
All the time. Even at restaurants, I walk into a restaurant and I'm like, oh, where's the restroom? And you can tell the server has answered that 14 million times. And I think especially if you're gearing youth ministry evangelistically, first-time guest-oriented, make sure that everything is really clear. Where do I go? What's next? How does this work? Where are the bathrooms? Obvious.
Bigger picture in the building conversation is the conversation that no matter how great your building is, if you don't have a relational philosophy or theology of ministry, it's going to break down.
Yeah, for sure.
So years and years ago, we were given a little bit of money to basically take 2 trailers. It was actually when Matt was in high school. We built out some trailers into kind of a youth facility, and I remember working really hard on this thing. We had restaurant booths in there, and it was a portable building. It's now torn down, but then we took a trip of high school kids to Haiti, and after week 3 in our youth building, kids were leaving to go to Del Taco because it had better food than the pretzels and the hot dogs that we had at this youth facility. And I remember kind of being disappointed, we put all this energy and effort into doing this, and it was cool for a couple weeks, and then kids want to go back to what they were used to anyway. And then we went to Haiti, and I remember watching these Haitian kids. They had a tire tube and a stick. And they were playing this game. It actually wasn't a tire tube. It was a tire. Yeah. And a stick. And they were playing kind of this soccer game with this. And the joy on their face and the laughter and the fun that they were having with stuff that they had found in the trash was just really interesting to me. So, do you need we had a strong youth ministry before we ever had a building. We had a strong church before we ever had a building. That the facility doesn't make it. Sure makes your life easier when you don't have to load in.
The facility doesn't grow. It doesn't grow ministry. Leadership, relationships.
Yeah.
For those of yous on the team, English doesn't have a plural you.
Yous?
Yeah, yous. One thing that we didn't talk about, but I think we'd all agree, is the youth room might be your space, but don't leave it junky. Leave it clean. The professionalism aspect there. Take care of what you got, even if it is a trailer that's a portable and temporary, because people will see that room when you're not there, and they will judge you.
Yeah, it's a reflection of your ministry.
Reflection of your ministry
and your leadership.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I just even going back to the refinery, that people sacrificed to build this whole thing, and then behind stage, that hallway, just everybody would throw their crap in there, and it used to make me so angry. Like, we busted our butts to build this thing, and just because it's not out in public where people can see it, let's clean up after ourselves.
So what makes you more angry, that cluttery hallway or the a lot being one word?
Now?
Just when you have to compare your whole life and you put it together.
Toss up. That's a toss up.
Yeah, being
toss
your
up
friend.
2 words of hyphenating.
T.J. Anderson from Greer, South Carolina. For the last few years,
I should be sad at that, right? No, who does?
I've been through college. I've struggled greatly with consistency in my faith. I seem to almost always be on either a spiritual high or largely ignoring my faith. First of all, TJ, thank you for your honesty. I spend that daily time with Jesus for a certain period of time consistently, but somewhere during that streak, I lose sight and slip up. There's usually a downward spiral that lasts for a little while. I have sought the help of a mentor, accountability partner, but never really was able to find one who cared enough. I've tried to develop a routine, quiet time every day at the same time. I just can't seem to get over this hump in my spiritual walk, and I'm not sure how to do so. I'd be very interested to see what some more seasoned veterans may have to suggest on this matter. Thanks for all that you guys and girls do. Keep it up.
That's awesome.
So, question of spiritual consistency.
Well, first of all, I love, we already said thank you for the honesty.
Yeah.
I just love it when people can be truthful about stuff like this, because it's much easier to be fake.
Well, in leadership, to be truthful, even more difficult.
Yeah. I think, there's a couple things here. We could come up with some tips, try this and try that, and I think that they would be worth it. They'd be worth trying and to see how that goes. I think part of it that is just true for everybody is ups and downs is a truth. Everybody has ups and downs in their walk, and really learning how to make it through that desert time is a full-on measure of maturity. There's just periods where you don't feel, and I mean that in a great way, not even to make fun of that, but there are times when God does not feel close. You don't hear the direction like you used to. You don't have the confidence that you did, and that's okay. That is okay to go through seasons like that. So I think that happens to everybody, and that's fine. But I think specifically to you, not you, Griff, but you, is that this could be a part of who you are and how you're wired. Not everybody has, personalities, temperaments, whatever you want to call it, that is just this even keel and stays the same, and life is always, maybe like accountants, that type of personality, but the reality is some people are more even than other people, and that's okay. That's part of how God created you, and there's going to be great things that happen. So I think there's lots of things that we could say. I know there's going to be lots of good things that come through, but to me, that come through this podcast and this discussion. But part of it might just be a realization that it's okay, because everybody goes up and down, and for you personally, this just might be something for you.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder, part of the genesis of my little book, Refuel, is written to guys like TJ.
The guilt of...
Yeah, that everybody, we're always comparing ourselves to what we think everybody else feels like in their spiritual journey. And so, you're just getting out, I've been through college. I'm guessing he's early 20s, but, you're always comparing yourself to what who your professor is or what they say they do. And, we learn these systems. Our friend Tim Timmons has this great line. His music, by the way, is outstanding, and his new album is releasing June 14th. But
I hope you paid for that.
It's the best. But he does this thing when he talks about being a varsity Christian. Yeah. Like, I know how to play the Christian game. And it's really there's a word picture there that, and maybe because I'm a sports fan and my kids have all played varsity sports, where I'm going, you get to a place where you're varsity and you've gone through the motions, you've jumped through the hoops, you've learned how to wear your uniform and play with the big boys or the big girls, but sometimes you can arrive there passionless. And I just think we tend to, a guy like TJ probably thinks he's still on the JV team or the frosh soft team, when in reality, he's probably a lot more varsity than he thinks. I mean, I have a lot of hurdles with what we communicate to people about what your relationship with Jesus is supposed to look like. I think we tend to create pharisaical boxes for people that really aren't all that different than the religious leaders of the time of Jesus. When you see Jesus hung out with the disenfranchised, the lonely, the hurting, and who he condemned were the religious. So sometimes I think in our...
So what are you saying? It's really not that bad?
That's kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying don't be careful you're not comparing yourself to other people who are communicating pharisaical things, that they might have a quiet time every day, but their heart is distant from Jesus.
Yeah, well, and for example, you say, hey, every day at the same time, I have a quiet time. You know what? That's great for lots of people, and lots of people need consistency. Nowhere in the Bible does it say you need to have a quiet time every day at the same time for the same amount of time. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I don't think you would either.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe there's another system, and I like the word system, that works for you. We could say organic system, if we like, to make it a little bit softer.
Organic system can't go.
Yeah. Well, sure, your whole body goes together. So, you need to find something different. Find something different.
Yeah.
Experiment.
But a lot of times, what I just said, a lot of leaders don't like hearing that. You all know that I, a year ago, was asked not to come back to a church where I was speaking 2 weeks in a row, because week one was me talking about refuel, that basically saying, why are you having a quiet time? You're only having a quiet time because somebody told you need to have a quiet time, or you need to read through the Bible in a year, and everybody feels like a failure. And basically what I was doing is giving people some grace.
Yeah, you're saying I haven't read my Bible in a year.
I'm going on a Bible fast.
I was giving people grace to all the
love Jesus.
Because I've talked to people every day for years, and they all feel guilty because what they've heard us say. And my point was, I say, you know where you're hearing that from? People like me, pastors, preachers, well-intended people. And this pastor didn't like it that I gave his people permission to maybe think a little different about how they approach Jesus. So anyway.
So maybe you're not spiritually dry, you're spiritually guilty. You feel guilty of this perceived spirituality.
Based on comparison.
Right. Maybe you're talking to Jesus, you're walking with Jesus, you're praying to Jesus, you're caring for people. Maybe you're spiritually full, but you really don't feel like
you're not fitting into
are.
that box that you are comparing yourself to. Yeah.
I like it. I do like the idea of connecting with Jesus and someone else, though. I do like that. Like, I know that when I spend time with someone who cares for me, loves me, around God's Word, it is awesome and it is refreshing. And usually there's some insights that they can share and encourage me with, and vice versa. Like, it can be a very challenging time to study and do a quiet time or whatever with someone who you're doing life with. Yeah. So and I do think there's some value there too.
There's huge value there. I mean, but of course, anytime you give somebody some advice on how to grow spiritually, it's possible to twist that and turn that into something that's fake and pharisaical.
Some checklist measure of spirituality.
But one of the things that you said in there, that if we were having a conversation, TJ, and obviously I don't know you, and so, I'm not going to say anything too bad. But one red flag that I saw in there is when you said, I can't find somebody who cares enough about me, and that is an interesting phrase, because you could, maybe you just have horrible people in your life. Everywhere you turn, you have horrible people. That could be true. Obviously, I'm a little sarcastic, and I don't think that's true. Me, I'm surrounded by horrible people, is what you say. That's not true. But the other thing is, too, your expectations might be too high. What does it mean for somebody to care enough for you? That might be... you might be putting too much hope in that other person. Another word for that is too needy. That you're expecting them to change everything for you. And again, these are, it's a pretty harsh thing to say, but this is a podcast and it's not a personal conversation and all that stuff. So take that for what it's worth.
There you go. Anything else? Youth Ministry 360 will send them what, Matt?
Well, let me promote Youth Ministry 360.
Since you just got phone with Les.
Got off the phone with these guys.
But they do, so for your credit, they do a lot of stuff with leader tracks.
Yeah. No, they do. And I think when I said that, I was like, you said leader. I messed up. I made a mistake.
Wow. I didn't hear that very well.
Every episode.
That's a good one.
Okay, you're never mean to me. Now you are to me.
That was like a pleasant surprise.
Oh, sugar Michelle.
You know what, Matt? Let me just share a little leadership lesson. Humility always wins.
And gentleness. Don't forget. My two strengths, right? Okay. We'd like to promote the Elements curriculum. It's a brand new Bible study curriculum from YM360. Elements is designed to help students understand their faith through powerful 3-lesson studies. So the whole study goes up to 2 years. This is really complex. Oh, we're going to make it simple.
Thanks for not giving me
a chart.
But here's the important part of this is that there are different components that you could choose. So you could do
different elements, as it were.
Yes, different elements, as it were. Something on grace or salvation, God's love, and many more. Wow.
TJ, we're going to send you something from...
Wow, I got to say one more thing. There's a free one. You can
try using the Holiness Study free and learn more at youthministry360.com/elements. So everybody can try that. Youthministry360.com/elements. Try using the Holiness Study. But we're going to send you from 360, TJ. We're going to send you something.
We don't know what it is.
Some piece of the elements our friends at Youth Ministry 360 will do.
And they're sharp guys.
They're great. They're great people.
Wait, I have one more.
Wait a minute.
Check out messyministry.com.
That's it. That's all you got to say?
Seth was on it. I was on it. It's just like a conversation between youth workers on Remedy Live with Remedy Live, and it's called messyministry.com. It's kind of cool.
That's great. And it's their podcast.
Yeah, right? It's like a podcast. Well, kind of, yeah. I mean,
that's a WebEx.
I don't know if it's award-winning or anything like that, but no, it's awesome. All
right, let's end with this question. Byron Spear from Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. I'm currently working 15 hours a week at a church of just over 200. While I love my job, I'm constantly finding myself frustrated by not having the time to do all the things I'd like to do. So my question is this. If you were to find yourself in a 15-hour work week ministry role, what would you make sure you do, and what areas would you cut back on? I'd cut back on prep. Yeah. And just go directly to downloadyouthministry.com and get Katie's stuff.
Download Katie's new resource. Came out this week.
Way to go.
Yeah. That's for sure. And don't you think it would be invest in leaders? 15 hours a week, you got to go exponential with your thinking.
Yeah.
You got to... Is that a dog?
That's a dog. We're in the garage.
We're just in the garage.
Find a couple of partners, maybe a guy and girl to help kind of, if you're going to do relational ministry or whatever, they're just helping you out, and I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, you pour into 2 people, they pour into 5 students, all of a sudden exponential thinking.
Photo op. Did you know that my phone can use both the front and the back camera?
Wow. You know what? The podcast has come full circle. We are now...
Seth, you were in that.
Yeah, Seth, executive producer.
I agree with you. Don't reinvent the wheel. There's so much great youth ministry stuff out there.
More than ever.
Utilize. There's just so many great resources.
And if you have a great resource, send it to us. We'll put it on Download Youth.
There you go. Love God, love students.
Share.
Pour into your volunteers. That's what we do.
All right.
There's enough hours in the day.
15 hours is not a lot of hours.
No, it's not. But the reality is God's not going to call you to do more than you have time to do. And so don't feel guilty that you can't do everything. Because even if you had 50 hours a week, even if you have full time, there's still going to be things that you want to do that you can't get to.
Yeah, we were talking, Katie's dad is doing youth ministry, and he keeps saying, well, I'm not doing it like you, I'm not doing it like you. And, Katie was going, Dad, you're probably doing better youth ministry than I am. Because sometimes when you're full time, you're putting all your time into meetings or, administrative type stuff. And
keeping every football games. He's does Sunday mornings with he has 15 teenagers in his group.
That sounds awesome.
So great.
They're over for dinner. I mean, he's doing it as a part of his life, and kids are being influenced. And stuff.
If you have 15 hours invested in people, invested in leaders, so it becomes reproducible.
Don't worry about doing the big events and that kind of stuff. Lose that.
Do with leaders what you want them to do with their students.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fun.
That's good.
Cool. Good one.
All right, good show. Love you guys.
Only a couple edits today.
Let's try to. No edits.
Just one edit.
No edits. You can't edit that.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to edit the ending if I don't hurry up and land this plane.
No, don't.
I'm going to put a big just while you're talking about.
You added like 3 of those then. All right. See you next week.
No, it's a bad.